The Terrain of Magical Expertise is a role-playing game developed by Neo-C Productions Ltd and published by Fulcrum Publishing on September 9th, 2021. You take the role of a white hat hacker, also known as a cracker in more technical parlance, in the fictional video game The Terrain of Magical Expertise. Referred to as Hattie, because you will always have a white hat, no matter what character you make. During the game, you join up with a guild called the Dandy Alliance, a collection of literally and figuratively colorful characters that expands as the game goes on. I wish I could tell you that it was fantastic. I truly do. I would unfortunately be lying. This was a game I waited for almost a decade. Ever since I first saw and immediately fell in love with the 2011 Tome web series. There are many flaws and issues I personally have with the game, but first, let's start with some positives. Starting us off with the positives, we have the characters. The characters are the only reason I made it through as much as I did. Their interactions were the single most fun part of the game to me. They were fantastic. Both story events and when unlocking team attacks, which we will get into later, they were wonderful. Unfortunately, the rest of the game wasn't so great. But I want to highlight some characters, because I found them especially fun. My absolute favorite character in the entire game, TIgerLily. She is the last party member you get, which feels incredibly unfair because she joins so late into the story that you are robbed of so many opportunities to just enjoy having her around. She brings the Dandy Alliance to the Dandy Alliance Plus, and, in my opinion, she is the cutest character in the main cast. She is adorable. Those of you who saw my post teasing this video coming out already knew what she looked like, and what she looked like when winning battles. She is one of the 2 brawler class party members you get in the entire game, and is the only nature attribute, the equivalent of the grass type for you Pokemon fans, party member you get in the game. Many of her skills manipulate stats, or can inflict status conditions, and she even has a summon, which I think is really neat. I like that. I like her. I wish you got her earlier, though. Second, NYLOCKE, Dragon of the Cold Steel! Yes, I did write it that way in the script. He is fun. He is the most fun character in the entire game, dialogue-wise. He is campy, he is hammy, he is an utterly unashamed and unabashed role player. He was my favorite character in the 2011 series, and he is my second favorite character in this game. Second only to TIgerLily, and that's just because she is cute and sassy. But this isn't about her. This is about NYLOCKE, one of your swordsman companions and your crystal element. Basically, a mix of water and ice type. More water. Final Fantasy. elements, where water and ice are the same thing. When he's serious, he is definitely serious. But most of the time, he's just fun, hammy, just making every scene he's in a pleasure. Third, and certainly not least, is Gamesoft. Taking the role of Game Crazed from the 2011 web series, Gamesoft is a spellcaster, one of two you get, and your second neutral attribute party member. She also has the most powerful single target attack in the entire game, and we will get back to that later when we go over the game's combat. The Game Theorists. There is a side quest before the second regional event, and thus the second main boss fight, where you can encounter, at least how they were in 2020, the Game Theorists. Matt Pat, Steph, Austin, and Gaijin Goomba. It was probably my single favorite quest of the game, and you can tell they had a lot of fun recording their lines for the game. It was fun, the quest was fun. It was delightful. I wish the game let itself have as much fun and didn't take itself so seriously so often. I would have enjoyed it much more. This part isn't in the script, but it's something I just have to gush over. The art style. I adore this game's art style. It captures my heart for being so similar to the 2011 web series that I fell in love with, while also combining aspects of older RPGs and older isometric games, and it is just an absolute delight. The characters look delightful, the cute characters look extra cute. I just love it. It is great. And back to your scripted content. And last, but certainly not least of the positives, the story. The story of the game is not incredible. It is mostly fun. It serves as a vehicle for some very enjoyable character interactions amongst the main cast. That's a very enjoyable dialogue from the Net Kings, who in this version of Tome, instead of being the player avatars for the in-game developers, are NPCs modeled after the developers, and possibly also usable as player avatars. I unfortunately did not get far enough into the game before I gave up to verify that. Unfortunately, the story is far from perfect and leads into some of my issues with the game. The story. While the simplicity of the story lends itself to plenty of character moments, it also leads to many points of annoyance. The hackers, a set of minor antagonists throughout the game, are absolutely fucking infuriating. Acting as a hindrance and injecting multiple pointless bits of drama and extra plot contrivance that drag other characters down and drag the story itself down. Your character is hiding the fact that she is a hacker, meaning you don't get to enjoy the benefits of being a hacker in a video game. outside of some combat potential that I regularly forgot was even in the game. Honestly. You lose 1 million Bincho Bucks, a fake fun money currency being used as the gate to the third major event in the game, and thus access to the third main boss fight. Another hacker deletes them from your account. The account of the party member who has them. And then you go on an excruciatingly long chase sequence that ultimately results in you gaining nothing. You lost the money, and you lost time. The next in-game day has TIgerLily joining the party, which is what I meant by saying she joins horribly late. But I was incredibly pissed off. And I am getting off script. Because it has been a while since I've engaged in the plot of the game directly, and I am still annoyed by it. Moving on. The hackers themselves. Being a head of antagonists are sadly one of the absolute worst points of the game. Yet often risking you losing progress, either by tricking party members into giving over items, or deleting items from your party members. They also include absolutely obnoxious gimmicks. From being untargetable, to guaranteed high damage unblockable counterattacks, to dealing 999 damage in a single attack. In a game where you can have 70 hit points while fighting the final boss, you have to trade an entire one of your turns to counter those gimmicks, to have a chance to counter those gimmicks in a mini-game unrelated to any other activity in the entire game, to temporarily shut off their combat gimmick, because they will re-enable it. Hacking, going hand in hand with the hackers themselves. The main hack you will use is debug, which counters the gimmick of the hackers, and is how you engage in the minigame unrelated to all other gameplay mechanics and gameplay structure. It takes your turn to do so, and it is incredibly annoying. Well, some hacks are very powerful if you know when to use them. I consistently forgot they were there, because I would usually get more effect out of just killing the enemy outright by using that turn to attack, or use an item. Fighting hackers, you're forced to use debugging if you want a chance to win, and it's incredibly annoying. Next up, we have cutscenes. While I gushed over the art earlier, the cutscenes, more specifically, the fact that cutscenes and dialogue are not skippable, I don't like. Cutscenes typically occur right after save points, and along with the several minute-long plot-important dialogue sections, which, when you'll have to reset multiple times to deal with a gimmick boss, unskippable, several minute-long sections of dialogue are unacceptable. Several minutes to tens of minutes long cutscenes that are unskippable is unacceptable in a game released in 2021. I can't. Combat. For a turn-based RPG, the combat in the game is sadly lacking. It's shockingly disappointing, and it takes heavy inspiration from Super Mario RPG and latter Mario RPG games, using action commands for every type of attack you can make. Regular attack? I hope you can change the attack button for your 2 to 6 hit combo. Using a skill? I hope you can mash the button or input the exact sequence of commands, or do the basically impossible to do while playing the game with keyboard for a computer game circle input, which terrible decision to put a circular input that requires multiple revolutions into a game designed primarily for keyboard and mouse that would originally be released on PC. Boss fights are balanced around depending on you using items. Unfortunately, combat is not nearly rewarding enough to make using items worth it. Items are expensive compared to combat rewards, with the cheapest healing item being worth more money, or Netti, in-game, than you can get from the easiest combat, which wouldn't be too bad, except there's also no XP system in the game. Combat is under-rewarding, because not only do you not get enough Netti to be worth it, but you don't get any XP, meaning you just drain resources. You drain your HP to MP against enemies that are often overly tanky for the section of the game you're at, causing fights to grind. Because you either burn through your MP to fight them faster, or you try to conserve that resource at the expenditure of your HP. It is a very unfun system that has turn timers to force you to make quick decisions, but action commands that are slow. What I mean by that is I'm not asking for them to be super fast. I am asking, however, for them not to be as long as they are. It is not a fun gameplay loop in combat. Everything will always take your entire turn to do, and the items are often not worth using, with random encounters and major battles feeling like a punishment due to the game's explicitly stated, at least during development, intent on the player using items. And without XP, there is no reason to grind combat encounters once TIgerLily joins your party. Equipment. While having an equipment system in a turn-based RPG isn't bad, using it as the absolute replacement to any form of leveling system is. Your equipment is split into 5 different color categories: Green specializes in HP, red is specialized in offense, blue is specialized in defense, yellow is specialized in speed, and purple, of which every character has 2 purple slots, is miscellaneous bonuses. Either HP regeneration, which doesn't give back enough HP to feel worth using, status immunity, which is pretty much the only good purple equipment that I've found, and Netti increasing items, which, along with the HP boosts, regenerating items, restore 1, 2, or 3 points depending on the tier of the item. And they do stack. It's just not normally worthwhile when you can give yourself status immunities and protect yourself from the second worst part of the game's combat system other than hacker gimmicks. Speaking of status effects, let's talk about them. There are 4 in the game: Cursed, Flower, Paralyzed, and Encased. Cursed is the weakest effect in the game. It is the poison effect of Terrain of Magical Expertise. You still have all your movement, none of your stats are adversely affected as far as I could see while playing the game. It's not remarkable, it's just not good, because it's incredibly weak compared to the other 3. Flower turns the victim into a flower, only capable of using the basic attack command for 1 attack, or the defend command to dedicate their entire turn to defending. You cannot use items and you cannot use skills while you are a flower. It is incredibly crippling to be under the effect of, and it is incredibly powerful. But like all the status effects in the game, it will wear off in a few turns. Paralyzed. It kills your speed and gives you a chance of completely skipping your turn. It is either simply incredibly annoying or incredibly crippling. You can't rely on it. Most status effects don't affect most bosses. And a lot of player characters as enemies are immune to status effects, or status effects you would have access to at the point of the story where you fight them. And then Encased. It is the single most powerful status effect in the game. In exchange for just needing to avoid strong physical attacks for a couple of turns, the victim is entirely incapable of taking turns at all. While a powerful enough attack can break the ice, you have turns to heal, to use setup moves, and just generally put yourself in an advantaged state in which your enemy cannot respond. They are comically imbalanced compared to each other. The game is not well balanced. Speaking of things that are not well balanced, combat disc. Remember earlier in this review when I said Gamesoft had the strongest single target attack in the game? This is that attack. Combat disc. In exchange for being really good at the move's timing, you have the chance to deal more damage than any other attack you can use in the game. Right off the bat. If you fail, you will do about as much damage as Gamesoft's basic attack combo would. So you still do damage, but if you mess up, and you're liable to mess up because the visual cue and the audio cue, at least when I was first using the attack, did not sync up properly. With the video cue occurring about a fraction of a second after the audio cue, but just enough to cause the attack to mess up consistently. The audio cue isn't very loud either. You are liable to miss it if you have any background noise going. A fan nearby, playing the game in the summer, a TV in the room, if you're watching a YouTube video in the background. It is very easy to miss the cue. This is the cheapest ability capable of dealing high-level damage in the game, and the fastest to dish it out. I've seen team attacks deal half damage at most, while being at least twice as expensive, and taking the turns of two characters. In fact, this is the immediate segue into team attacks. I really wanted to love these. I really did. You get them used on you before you have access to the first one, and you have them teased right from the first arena you encounter in the game. It's a shame that most of them fucking suck. They're expensive. More expensive than basically any other attack in the game. They do about as much damage as attacking twice. And it is mildly cheaper to attack twice. They take up the turns of each party member involved in using it. So you can't just dedicate one turn to the expensive attack. You have to dedicate two. But note, I only said most of them are bad, and that it's only bad to attack with them most of the time. The ones that don't deal damage are fantastic. If Gamesoft is involved in a team attack, it's almost a guarantee that it doesn't deal damage, and is therefore amazing. From powerful single target healing to powerful defensive abilities. Fantastic. NYLOCKE also has some fantastic ones, such as his combos with Flame Girl, Herbifer, and TIgerLily. Especially. Which is a powerful group heal, a powerful offensive buff for the entire party, and, at least in the video I saw where it was used, complete immunity to multi-targeting attacks for like 10 turns, respectively. I haven't seen all of TIgerLily's attacks. The point where those become available, unfortunately, is after the point of the game story I gave up on it. I have seen some of them. The only one I've seen that was any worthwhile is the one with NYLOCKE, because it is overpowered. Character creation. You get the following choices: your race, which is entirely cosmetic, class, which affects how many attacks you get, your base stat allotment, presumably what equipment slots you get, I haven't checked, and what special moves you you have access to during character creation: your element and 2 special moves. Brawler is the speed-focused class. They can attack 6 times. Swordsman, melee attack, hackers, they have the strongest basic attack. And Spellcaster, they have the strongest magic attacks. There are 5 element choices. Neutral, which is strong against nothing and weak against nothing. You are neutral towards and against everything. It is the single best attribute in the entire game, because you will not be punished for choosing it for an entire section of the game, unlike the other 4. You have Infernal, which is meant to be a combination of fire and darkness. It's the demonic element. It is weak to crystal and strong against nature. Natural. Natural is the grass and nature element. It is weak to infernal and strong against technological. Technological is electricity and metal. It is weak to natural and strong against crystal. And crystal is water and ice. It is weak to technological and strong against infernal. The damage relationships are all this way. Elements don't get multiple weaknesses or multiple resistances. Makes it very consistent as long as you can tell what element your enemy is. Your final choices are your special moves, which you pick before you learn how combat works, and before the combat tutorial, and you can't change them. You might have noticed I left out actual character customization. The game doesn't give you the choice. I get that it's due to technical limitations, but don't show that section of character creation in-game. Part of the appeal of a tome game was character customization. It was supposed to be fantastic. The combat tutorial and the first combat. You have your first combat before the combat tutorial. This is where you get your first party member, Alpha, and your second, Kerbifer. Alpha is neutral aligned and a brawler. He is great to have with a collection of various elemental moves that builds up as the game goes on. Kerbifer is a technological swordsman. He has some neat utility, but I tended not to use him when I had the choice. The game throws you into combat before it teaches you how to do it, which wouldn't be an issue if it didn't follow up with a lengthy forced tutorial section that taught you almost everything about combat, except how blocking works. The game didn't teach me how to block, which also has a delay between when you start inputting the block command, which is down, and action. On the keyboard it's down and S. And it's also limited, as your block will lift after a couple of seconds, often resulting in you being hit by the end of combos by brawler-type enemies. If the game wants a combat tutorial, it should have just done it as one self-contained and encompassing tutorial, organically made as part of the gameplay. Netti, and why experience points are important. And now, we have reached the heart of almost every single issue I have with the game's combat system. The lack of experience points in a turn-based RPG. In a normal RPG, the presence of experience points rewards you and encourages you to engage with combat and the main gameplay loop. In Terrain of Magical Expertise, however, your only benefit from combat is the occasional item reward of an item of the tier of the area you're in, and an almost insultingly low amount of Netti, which needs to be used both to buy healing items, which the game is balanced around you using a lot of for boss fights, and equipment. The typical boss battle is about 100 Netti, give or take. A battle with 4 player characters will be 100 to 120. And the regular enemy drops about 10, maybe 12-ish, as far as I remember. What I'm saying is, you don't get a lot, considering that the weakest piece of buyable equipment is 800 Netti. And the weakest healing item in the game costs at least 20. Using items is not economical, but without experience points, you either have to use them way more than you can afford, or constantly flee battle to run to healing springs, and hope you can avoid combat going back to wherever you were. It is not rewarding to engage in combat, the core gameplay loop of a turn-based RPG. You are actively punished for it, because you expend your HP, and you expend your MP, and you expend more Netti than you are given if you play the game as intended. Netti and getting it. Combat is the worst way to get it, but for most of the game, it is the only way you're getting it outside of chests, which do not respawn. So those are one-time deals. Once TIgerLily joins your party, you gain access to the casino, which allows you to gamble for Netti. There is a save point right outside of the casino, and there is no save detection or reset detection in the casino. Meaning, you can just gamble however much Netti you have on a game of blackjack to double your money. If you lose, oh well, you can just reset, you can just quit to the main menu and load your save point, because there's no autosaves. There is no way to keep you from just save scumming the casino, and it's the only way of making money that is time efficient. It's not necessarily fun, but the combat system isn't all that fun either. Why is the Netti Cap so low? This is the final section of me griping about money. The worst part of it, other than the abysmally low rewards, is the fact it's capped at $9,999. You can bet over $9,900 at the casino. Why? Why let the player gamble so much money that they can never get a return on investment for? It sucks. It is a terrible choice, and there is more than enough display room on your Netti display, on like every interface that brings it up, for you to be able to have more. The mid-tier viable equipment is $1,500 each. With a full wallet, you can get 6. Your party consists of 7 members, who each have 3 usable equipment slots for this $1,500 costing equipment. 7 characters, 3 slots each. That is 21 pieces of equipment. It costs 3.5 full wallets to outfit your characters with mid-tier equipment. If the cap was higher, the game would be far better, and I could forgive a lot of the money issues once you get to the casino. Because it would just be more convenient overall. Save points. I've mentioned them before. Like many older RPGs, there are set save points. There are no autosaves. You save in one slot that you select from the start menu when you start your new game. Unlike other games with a save point system, there is no ability to save in an overworld map because there is no overworld map. Save points can be 30 plus minutes apart and can often be separated by lengthy cutscenes, forced dialogue, boss fights, and just a lot of enemies to get through. It is often a slog to get save point to save point, and it made it incredibly difficult for me to dedicate time to play the game. Timers. The sheer number of timers in the game is infuriating. Making choices in dialogue? Timer, you better hurry. Making choices in combat? Reading what your skills do? Because you just got a new character? Or they just got a new skill as part of the story? Timer, you better hurry up. You better hurry up. Why are you taking so long? It is a terrible design decision. Especially when paired with the action commands. Because combat doesn't know if it wants to hurry or to be slow. I'm going to compare it to Final Fantasy VII, the original, not the remake. In Final Fantasy VII, there is also a timer in battle. However, that timer is not a resource that goes down. It goes up. Because that is how soon your characters can take their next turn in combat. You can use that timer tactically and hold off on taking turns until all of your characters can. While in the terrain, the timer is not a resource, it's just a way to force the player to stick by the computer while in combat, even if they need to do something else. with the action commands, it makes, and the lack of experience and low money quantities for winning, battles are incredibly punishing for the player and something you don't want to engage in if you can help it. The timers would not be so bad if there weren't action commands, because then battles would be far quicker. Either have timers but no action commands, or action commands and no timers. Don't have both. It is at least in my opinion, a fundamentally bad design decision. I am 9 pages deep into this review, and I have said every important thing I had to say about this game. So it's time to bring it to an end. I wish I could love this game. I am a fan of the Tome web series from 2011. I binge-watched the entire series the day before I started playing this game. I shouldn't have done that. I came in expecting something like that web series. I didn't get it. The characters were similar, and they were a delight. They were the biggest positive. Ultimately, I wanted to cut this game slack. I love Tome. I love it so much. I waited a decade for this game. But the delivery disappointed me greatly. It's a passion project, and it shows. This was something that the creator of the Tome franchise, Christopher Neo-C, wanted to make for nearly 20 years, and only managed to succeed in 2021. I wanted to cut it slack, but my own love for Tome made it more disappointing. I went in with so many expectations that were just impossible to meet. And that's part of why I'm being so critical. Is there was so much promise in this franchise to make a fantastic game. But it stumbled just enough. If you're a fan of action commands, go ahead and buy the game. It's $10 normally. Get it on sale if you can. And if you're not certain about it. If not, I'd advise staying away from it. The game is... Looking at the Steam achievements, you will notice a massive drop-off in players. Most players don't get much further than the first boss. And there's understandable reasons for it. Only about 60% officially join the Dandy Alliance that you join incredibly early into the game. If you're a fan of Tome and want to bite into the most recent and what's most likely the last piece of Tome media, unless the series creator decides he wants to make another game, temper your expectations. Don't expect it to be like the show. It's not. But no matter what, if you do decide to try it, I hope you manage to find more enjoyment than I did. I have been your host, Blue Dragon, of Blue Dragon Games. If you've made it this far into the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.